The Spectre Performance Cold Air Intake that we have here today is going to be one of your most affordable ways to slap an aftermarket system on your 2011 and newer 3.6 Challenger, while still offering a little bit more flash thanks to the polished finish, at right around $250. Now, this no tune required intake is CARB certified, making it appealing to owners in all 50 states, and will be an extremely easy bolt-on install, as we'll show you later in the video. So in my humble opinion, this intake is going to be for the Challenger owners out there who are more concerned with saving a few bucks as opposed to going with some big brand name intake that might offer a few more bells and whistles or features, such as maybe a better material for the intake tube or maybe a slightly more elaborate airbox design. Now, the Spectre is all business, guys, and is essentially as bare bones as it's gonna get in the world of aftermarket intake systems, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. For starters, you are getting the polished aluminum intake tube, and I use that polished word lightly. It's more of a brushed finish, satin aluminum, if you will, certainly not chrome like you might see on a more expensive option. Outside of that, you are getting the reusable high flow oiled filter here. And then of course you are getting a heat shield design aluminum, certainly very basic, but it is designed to isolate this filter from any excessive hot engine bay air. Now, don't expect to see any big flashy logos anywhere, which again might be a good thing in the eyes of some Challenger owners. Instead, the only flash you are getting here is from the intake tube itself. Now, if you're not a big fan of the satin or polished finish here, you want something maybe a little bit more low-key under the hood, well, both Spectre and even SR Performance are going to offer an affordable black version, which will be very similar to this one. Now, as far as your benefits are concerned, well, two biggies jump right out at me as mentioned in the customer review section. First up, the added growl coming from your 3.6 engine under the hood will be immediately noticeable after the install. Now, that's because the open element or open filter design will allow the engine to really be heard under full throttle, and that's something a lot of fellow 3.6 owners have commented on, and in a good way. Secondly, the power and throttle response is another big expectation with something like this, and of course, another common theme in the review section. Check those out, guys, if you haven't already done so. Now, we don't have any specific numbers here for the Spectre in this particular video, but it's been my experience over the years that something like this, a no tune required intake, will land you anywhere from the high single digit, low double digit gains, along with that increased throttle response. But what do you say we switch gears and talk more about the installation? And I'm happy to say that, listen, if you have a basic set of hand tools and the slightest bit of mechanical know-how, you should be able to get the Spectre in place rather easily. So therefore, let's switch gears and talk more about the installation. And listen, I'm happy to say that if you have a basic set of hand tools and the slightest bit of mechanical know-how, you should be able to get this intake in place rather easily. Therefore, site's gonna go 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe 30 minutes to an hour of your time to get everything in place. Now, recommended tools to get everything done include a basic wrench and socket set, along with a corresponding ratchet, small extension, and then finally a flathead screwdriver. But to give you a better idea of what to expect with the job, here's an AM customer to walk you through it now.
So the first thing we have to do is disconnect the negative terminal, which is located in the trunk. And now we have to remove the engine cover. Just kind of pops off. And then the next thing you're supposed to do is disconnect the electric connector at the air intake temperature sensor. Loosen the clamp at the throttle body. And now we're going to remove the breather hose from the plastic vent line and the screw holding the factory airbox in place. We need to set that one aside because we're going to use it later. Yeah, let me have that screw. I'll set it on the table. Cool. That should be semi-loose.
It's just a pull away.
Right. Okay.
And then it's free.
So we can take that off or out of there.
Sure.
Now you have to turn the IAT sensor counterclockwise and remove it from the factory intake tube.
And you just turn it counterclockwise and pull. Ta-da.
Okay, so we've placed the rubber grommet inside the hole in the inner fender. Next we need to dress the heat shield.
So now this is where the trim comes in.
Bingo. Okay, reinstalling the sensor in the grommet. And you might need to put your fingers on the inside to keep it from popping out. So now we've added the bracket onto the grommet existing right down there. So we haven't tightened the clamps yet. We're just going to install this little bolt to kind of help hold things in place. And then we're going to tighten the inside clamp, leaving the outer one somewhat loose.
So the orientation of the oblong has to go toward the driver's seat.
Yeah, we'll need that clamp on there for sure, huh? So the existing short little hose here that connected to the
Plenum.
old plenum is way too short to reach there, and 2 hoses are provided, so this one goes away. This one comes on, and it'll have to be trimmed about an inch or so.
If that, right?
And then a clamp will be placed over that. I think you do, because otherwise it's gonna be pushed up too high.
Yeah.
You want it to lay a little lower. Okay, let's get our clamp. So we're gonna put the air filter on and double check everything. Probably tighten that one coupler up there, final. Retighten that. Check all of the other fittings. I say snug.
That goes snug.
Everybody remember the batteries in the trunk, the car, where most people have a spare tire, but this car does not come equipped with a spare tire.
Wrapping things up here, guys, the Spectre cold air intake might not be the fanciest option in the category, but it will deliver the key components of an aftermarket intake for a fraction of the price of the competition. So be sure to check one out for your V6 right here at AmericanMuscle.com.